Right. Oh, Wale.
Yeah, cool kid sleep.
Look,
Yeah,
Maybach music.
she a couple years younger, but she better.
Hi there, everyone. This is Saurabh Pandey once again with our fortnightly webinars. And today we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is programmatic buying or programmatic advertising. This is one buzzword that every advertiser and every agency is chasing in terms of knowing more about it and investing more into it. The reasons why programmatic is so popular today and so much in trend uh, would be visible in the coming slides to you. And as a digital marketer, programmatic is something that you must invest your time into in terms of learning. And also, if there is an opportunity, do work on certain programmatic platforms also, because this is the future of advertising. The rise of programmatic is not hidden from anyone. Anyone who is into digital and advertising field knows the importance of programmatic. And all this has happened in the last 3-4 years. If you see in 2012, the global ad spend in programmatic was just about $5 billion. And last year in 2016, it increased to about $40 billion. That's about an 8x increase in just 4 years. In 2017, which is this year, also we are expecting about 30-35% increase over last year in terms of ad spend. So that is huge. And if you compare it with social advertising or online video, you would find that this growth, is also faster than these platforms as well. So programmatic is something that we must look at very seriously. Now, the opportunity for programmatic in India is huge. You see here in your on your screens, you can see the US and UK. Programmatic is 70% of all advertising spend, which means all advertising that is bought in US and UK, 70% of that is bought or spent from a programmatic platform. Right? In China, programmatic is 23% of all spends. Right, so China, being a huge market, still has a long way to go in terms of catching up with US and UK, which means huge opportunity for China. And India is a laggard. India, in that sense, India is even below China, and so the opportunity for India is even more huge. Right, so not only the growth rate is huge for programmatic, but the opportunity of scaling up is also very, very large for India. Anyone who wants to make a career in programmatic, career in digital marketing, should look at learning more about programmatic. Okay, now that brings us to the question of what is programmatic buying. Okay, now programmatic buying in a very simple term is nothing but automation, use of technology to automate the ad buying process in real time, right? And if you have used AdWords is a great example of how programmatic works. In AdWords, as an advertiser, you are able to buy inventories, and you are able to select your target audience. You are able to execute your ads all in real time, right? So AdWords is in a sense programmatic. The keywords, the buzzwords here are that you are using technology, number one. And number two, you are using real time scenarios uh, to execute your advertising, right? And number three is the bidding part, that you buy the space from an auction, right? So there is no fixed price generally, and you bid and compete with other players who are buying a similar ad space, and then you buy it and execute your advertising also. So that is all about programmatic buying in a simple sense. It's a use of technology to to automate and optimize the ad process in real time. Now, to understand it better, let's have a look at how traditional advertising process used to work. Now, traditionally, the advertising process was very human driven. A lot of manual processes were there. There was no real time activity. There was no flexibility. And if you see, if an advertiser wanted to advertise, even on digital, for instance, then he would have to release an order to an agency. The agency would internally, create a brief for the media planner, would plan the media based on whatever information he has, mostly again coming from publishers, so static information largely. And based on that information, the media buyer would negotiate the best prices and the inventory available one by one with each publisher. And then the ops guy would essentially create a schedule of which creatives will go to which publisher, how many sizes of each creative, what are the scheduling of the time bands, and all that stuff happens, and then the ads get released. Now programmatic makes everything very simple, very fast, quick, and real time. As an advertiser or an agency, you set your target in terms of your budgets, in terms of your target audience profiles, and your key metrics, and then you go on to the automated platform, and you build your audience there, or you choose your audience there, and you start executing in real time your creatives, and then you start getting results which can be tracked and analyzed in real time, and very quickly you have the opportunity to optimize your creatives, landing pages, budgets, audiences, etc., so that you can reconfigure your advertising and start them once again. So that's how programmatic makes it very simple. A lot of you who have been in digital, have had would have had some kind of an exposure through AdWords, for instance, and programmatic overall, works very similar to AdWords. As I said, there are three core elements of programmatic. Number one, it is auction-based pricing. So generally, the programmatic platforms have an auction-based pricing, which means you compete with other advertisers to buy the space or inventory. Second, the workflow is completely automated, which means when you float an RFP, it's a request for proposal, and when the publishers allocate inventory to you, and the analysis part, the data part, the entire workflow, right from the RFP to the closure of deal to execution, is automated, and it's very transparent in the sense that it can be seen on the dashboard. And hence, the third part is about advertiser has a lot of control on where and when the ads are shown and to whom. These are the three core elements of programmatic. If we go deeper into programmatic, we'll find a lot of ways in which the pricing may not be auction based. You can have a programmatic direct or a programmatic premium option where you deal directly with the publishers. That possibility is there. The workflows become even more complex but user friendly in terms of the fact that they can give out a lot of useful data to advertisers. So as you go deeper into programmatic, you would learn a lot of more things about how programmatic works. But on a simplistic way, this is how programmatic works, and these are the three core elements of programmatic. Now, when we talk about programmatic, we often hear a lot of jargons or terms like DSP, SSP, ad exchanges, DMP. What are these key terms? What are these jargons? Right? What do they imply? Where do they fit in the entire ecosystem of programmatic? Let's try and understand these. Let's first address the SSP part. SSP means supply side platform. Now, a supply side platform is again a technology platform which is used by the publishers. Yeah, right? The publishers supply inventory. The publishers supply the banner space. That's why they're called suppliers. Now, they use a technology platform to automate the selling of their advertising space. So the moment you plug into a supply side platform, the supply side platform starts creating an inventory of all the space that you have, all the page views that you can generate. It starts keeping the data of it, and based on it, it starts also helping you sell those to advertisers through ad exchanges or ad networks, right? And facilitates the bidding part. And when the bidding is over, when the advertising inventory is sold, then it tries and checks on what is the fill rate, which means how much inventory has been sold, how much is remnant, at what price it is being sold, how can we optimize it to get even better price, and so on, right? So that's the job of an SSP platform, a technology platform which helps publishers sell their inventory and optimize their inventory in such a way that they are profitable and they can scale up their revenues, right? So if you have heard about AdSense could be termed as an SSP, right? AdSense could also be termed as an ad network, but since it has a publisher interface where it does a lot of things for a publisher in terms of allowing it to choose what kind of ads it wants to show, right? And what are the effective CPMs and revenues per thousand impressions. And these data are also supplied to suppliers. So in a very simplistic way, AdSense can also be called as an SSP. For those of you who have experienced AdSense, they would have experienced an SSP in its minuscule stage. A better example, of course, would be OpenX. OpenX is a free and open sourced SSP which anyone can use. Slightly complex to install and implement and use, but very nice and very comprehensive though. Right, now that brings us to DMP. What is a data management platform? Now, data management platform is a very useful platform that essentially assimilates data from various parties. It could be cookie data from the publisher, it could be historical data of advertisers, it could be third party data from data firms, and all this data is assimilated and analyzed at one place so that it can be helpful for publishers and as well as advertisers, because uh, for example, an advertiser can buy advertising based on the information available from DMP, or information available from an SSP can be synced or matched with a DMP to understand what kind of data, what kind of audience are they buying from an SSP, right? So DMP is essentially a platform which analyzes a lot of data, and without this, buying data, uh, will not be as useful as it can be. So a DMP works very nicely with a DSP where advertisers are buying audiences, buying inventory, and DMP helps them understand what kind of audiences they are buying, and even post campaign they can understand how it can be scaled up further, how lookalike audiences can be bought, and so on. An example of this could be Crux, which is from Salesforce. Now, an ad exchange. Uh, Ad exchange is like a stock exchange where a lot of stocks are listed. Similarly, in an ad exchange, a lot of publishers are listed, a lot of inventory is listed. Right? So, ad exchange makes it possible for advertisers and agencies to buy the ads. Right? At one go, you can buy ads from various publishers and various ad networks just at one go. For example, DoubleClick, that allows you to buy advertising based on your uh, defined audience set, defined target audience set. You can buy inventories across publishers and ad networks and devices, platforms, etc. Right? Now, the question that is might be arising in your minds is, what's the difference between ad exchange and SSP? And SSP is also an aggregation of suppliers or publishers, and ad exchange is also an aggregation of the same. So what's the difference? Now, certainly there is an overlap. Ad exchanges and SSP has overlap. Ad exchange is an old phenomena. SSP is a new phenomena, much more developed, much more technologically advanced, much more features. But there is an overlap for sure. To understand it better, ad exchange is just a marketplace like let's say a Quicker or an OLX, where selling and buying happens, right? From one side it is connected to SSPs, and from other side to demand side platforms, the buyers. Now supply side platforms works directly with publishers, that is number one, and also creates a lot of tools that enrich the experience of publishers. The automated workflows, the yield optimization, revenue analysis, right? Forecasting, etc. That all is done by SSPs. These are not done by ad exchanges. Ad exchanges also normally do not work directly with publishers. Uh, they may work a lot with ad networks instead. SSPs also incorporate premium inventories, which means that SSPs are not about remnant or left over inventory, the inventory that has not been sold by publisher. SSPs are not an aggregation of those kind of inventories. SSPs generally deal with good publishers, large publishers, medium-sized publishers, and they also deal with premium inventories, which means as a brand you can buy premium inventories, specific inventories from SSPs. From an ad exchange, it's difficult to buy those kind of inventories, right? So that's the difference between ad exchanges and SSPs. Now that brings us to the last spoke of the wheel, which is DSP, demand side platform. Just like SSP was a platform for suppliers or publishers, a demand side platform is a platform for buyers or advertisers or agencies, right? So the buyers buy specific banner ads on specific websites or a group of websites across devices from the DSP, right? The DSPs are further integrated into multiple ad exchanges. Just like SSP is integrated into an ad exchange, DSP is also integrated into an ad exchange. And they both fetch data from ad exchange, and then with the use of DMPs and other tools that they have, they make that data rich and show it up on a dashboard from where the buyers can easily buy them and start keeping a track of what happens next, right? So as I said, in simple terms, AdWords can also be treated as a DSP. As a buyer, when you start an AdWords account, you buy a lot of display inventory, you choose your audience, you choose your time of the day, budgets, etc. So in a simple term, even AdWords is a DSP. So don't get afraid of programmatic or DSP and SSP in jargons. If you have used AdWords, if you have used Facebook advertising, most programmatic platforms are exactly like those. So don't be afraid. Just a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of practice can make you a programmatic expert. Now let's look at the programmatic ecosystem. So whatever we have learned so far, let's try and look at that from this infographic. Now there is an advertiser and there is a publisher, right? Advertiser wants to buy inventory from the publisher, and publisher wants to sell the inventory from to the advertiser, and publisher does it through an SSP, supply side platform. So publisher plugs into a supply side platform, and supply side platform now starts receiving all data from publishers and stacking it up, and then supply side platform further plugs into an ad exchange, because ad exchange is the platform where advertisers and publishers all meet together and the buy and sell happens there. So supply side platform collects all data from publisher and collects some data from DMP if possible, and together puts it up on the AdX to sell it off. Now the advertiser who also wants to buy the advertising inventory uses a DSP and maybe a DMP at times to further analyze the data and buys it from the ad exchange, right? So this is the entire ecosystem in a minimalistic or a simplistic way, right? When you, as I said, delve deeper into programmatic, you would find this ecosystem to be slightly more complex. More entities like trading desks, etc., would start cropping up here. But to start with, I think this is a fair enough infographic to understand the programmatic ecosystem. Right? Now let's understand this and end this with a case study of how Google used programmatic uh, to promote its mobile apps. Right? So Google's focus was that my apps are now much more evolved, and you should use the Google app for searching and for other tools also. And what it does, it wanted to reach out to people in a very novel way, in a very contextual way. So to promote its application. So what it did was they essentially followed a four-step process to create the creatives and to execute the advertising to the target audience. Right. So they started this advertising, during the summers when people in US often go out, you know, uh, on vacations also, and to go out on national parks and other such tourist areas. And while they travel, they also search for a lot of landmarks and events and monuments. And the Google team essentially identified what are the most common queries during the summertime when people are traveling to tourist locations. And they found that one of the most frequently asked questions was about the Golden Gate Bridge, and the question was, how long is the Golden Gate Bridge? So Google compiled a whole series of these questions and made them into ad creatives which would show up on a mobile platform whenever someone is surfing on a mobile phone on different websites, right, or using an application of any sort. uh, then these questions would pop up. So for example, a question like how long is the Golden Gate Bridge pops up as an ad when a person is surfing on his mobile phone. That is number one, right? To use data to understand what people want. Number two, they set a context. Now these questions will not pop up randomly. These questions will pop up only when a person is at that location. So all questions about Golden Gate Bridge will only pop up when a person is in and around Golden Gate Bridge. So that made a huge context impact. When you are around Golden Gate Bridge and when you are surfing on your mobile, then suddenly there is an ad that you see which has a question: how long is Golden Gate Bridge, for instance, right? Or who designed the Golden Gate Park, for instance. Now these are very relevant questions, and people will click them, right? And then Google would tell them about the answer and also about the benefit of downloading a Google application and what all they can do with that application, right? Number three, they did not stop here. They used the multiplier effect. Now, people at Google knew that mobile phone, works as a second screen while they watch TV. So a lot of people who are not roaming around, who are in their houses, who are watching television, how can we build context around that, right? So, for instance, during a women's international soccer match, Google essentially, when people were watching soccer matches and they were also browsing, websites on their mobile phones, then Google would pop out ads like how many panels are there on a soccer ball and so on, right, with the answers. So engagement with these ads really spiked, uh, right, and there were a lot of clicks and interaction that happened with the mobile app ads. And last but not the least, step four was to learn and tailor communication. So as people in marketing department in Google started to understand how people respond, when people respond, what type of content is more appealing, what kind of questions around which destination people are interested in, they started updating and refining their advertising creatives. And this mobile programmatic strategy led to the second highest awareness lift Google has ever seen for its mobile application ads. And of course, as I said, it resulted in an incremental lift in app usage and engagement also across exposed users. So not only did Google get a lot of engagement, it also got a lot of app downloads, app engagement, and that is what the benefit of programmatic is. Programmatic is like an ocean where you can do a whole lot of things. All you have to do is to be creative and to understand the possibilities and opportunities that programmatic throws up at you, right? So I wish you all the best. Try and learn more about programmatic. uh, we will soon be launching a full-fledged course on programmatic advertising, which would be about 8 to 10 hours course, and look forward about that. And if you are interested in that course, do ping us. Thank you. Keep listening to our webinars, and do send me any suggestions or feedbacks that you have on Saurabh at dotconverse.com. Thank you.
She don't need no ticket. She get it, yeah, she got it, so you know I had to get her. She my NYPYT. She my NYPYT. She my NYPYT. She my pretty young thing, and I do anything for her.